I have a rotary encoder installed on my Lily58 Pro. This rotary encoder has a 20mm shaft, which I thought was standard across all encoders, but apparently there are many other shaft lengths available. The one I have installed measures about 30mm from the top of the knob to the PCB surface, which makes it higher above all the other keycaps and not flush when storing this keyboard in my headphone case. So what I did was I bought two other types of encoders, one with a 10mm shaft but with really short pin legs, and another 12mm shaft which I wrongly bought because these encoders turn left and right but resets to its original position by a spring of some sort. The other thing about my Lily58 Pro is I have an LED strip installed at the bottom as underlight. Turns out the LED strip was a bit too wide, which causes it to be sandwiched with the bottom acrylic plate and the hot swap switches, which in turn adds the gap between the PCB and bottom plate by like 0.2, 0.3mm. Really not much in terms of numbers, but if you're fussy like me, it feels like there's a huge gap in between there. So I bought 4mm and 5.5mm strips. So here's the story of me replacing these two things on my Lily58. First thing to do was to disassemble the Lily58, desolder the LED strips, and cut the LED strips to the same length as the old ones, and then solder the wires to the LED strips. You know, at first I got confused after soldering the wires to the LED strip because apparently the ground and live wires were opposite. After soldering the LED strip, I do a quick check and everything lights up. Cool! Once that's done, I desoldered the long shaft encoder. And by the way, this is how the legs compare between the 20mm and 10mm encoders. Since the 10mm encoder had shorter legs, I had to bend them inwards so they'll go through the holes on the PCB. What I did for my previous encoder was to put the legs through the holes and then connect them to the wires. But for this round, since the 10mm had shorter legs, I figured I had to solder the wires first, then pass them through the holes. Once that's done, test the encoder if it works. It looks good. And now we move on to the other side's LED strip. Do the same thing, desolder the old LED strip, put in the new LED strip, and test. And then reassemble everything. So now I have a smaller gap, I think, between the PCB and the bottom plate because the LED strip is not sandwiched on any of the hot swap sockets. And a total knob height of about 24mm. You know, I don't know, it feels more slimmer and lower profile by 0.1 to 0.2mm, but I might be wrong, so that's that. Okay, and that's all. Thanks for watching. ご視聴ありがとうございました。